Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. Happy Monday. Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, Cody Delmendo, getting you ready for the World Series. What? That went fast, fellas.
Yeah.
Well, the weekend passes. All of a sudden, the LCS series sucked. Let's be honest. They were not good. I don't know how the rest of your weekend was, but those were blowouts. It wasn't even really that fun.
Yeah, I had the Phillies and Padres going 7. I thought that series was definitely going 7. I was hoping for 7 just because I thought those teams were evenly matched. I was not surprised the Yankees and Astros went 4. I regret not placing a bet on the Astros to win that series in 4. So
now Rizzo can opt out and rejoin the Cubs.
People are saying.
I know it's not happening.
Yeah. It's not going to happen, but we'll let Cody dream on that one.
Let me dream about it, all right? Don't let me talk myself into it, though.
I do kind of agree as far as like the LCS, especially considering how awesome the wild card round and the division rounds were. Like, it was like great baseball. And I mean, at least a couple of the Yankees Astros games were close enough to make it feel competitive. Like, but ended up in a sweep. Like the Astros, when you really watch the games, you watch pitch by pitch and you look at it, you're like, this Astros team is just better. They're just better. They pitched better. They hit better, hitting the clutch better. It was all kinds of things. So even though I think the first or the three of, I don't know, the run differential wasn't too far apart, but it never really felt like as close as like what a box score looks like. It just felt like the Astros just pitched better, hit the ball better, put the ball in play like they're supposed to. When the Yankees made mistakes, they took advantage, like the Harrison Bader drop in center field, and then I think it was Chas McCormick hit a 2-run home run the next day, or the next at bat. It wasn't a close series, and I think the 4-0 sweep kind of shows that.
Ryan, how did Ryan keep track of this when he was at homecoming for Mizzou? Like, I was going to say that the baseball was terrible, but the weekend weather was like Chicago. Summertime is
great.
over. Like fall is so much better. Spectacular.
The weather was chef's kiss. It was like the perfect weekend to have homecoming. Like sometimes when it's this late homecoming, it gets cold and it's not the best weather, but it was sunny, high 70s, low 80s the entire time. It was a perfect weekend for it.
Nice. It was perfect here too. I spent my Saturday down in Lincoln Park and watch the Bulls get their butts whooped while also watching college football. I enjoyed the weather. That's what I enjoyed the most.
You got to take your wins where you can get them, Cody. I told you sometimes you got to sacrifice your team for a little good weather or a faster show, depending on which it might be. Hey, by the way, big news at the Stuckmeyer household. Not only can my son identify our podcast music when it comes on now, but this morning I was wearing a Cubs t-shirt. He pointed to the logo on my chest and said, Cub. One of the first 20 words, Cubs. So we got another one on board, I think.
You got a Cubs fan brewing.
Yeah,
Cubs fan brewing in the Stuckey household.
Well, at least he was born after 2016, so there's no drought for him.
Yeah, let's just hope he doesn't have to wait 108 years. So Phillies Astros, the way I look at it is it's the could have been Cubs against the should have been Cubs. You look at the two rosters, and the thing that's so frustrating about it for me when I watch it is you have so many guys that we've talked about over the years where you're like, well, they should do this. They should get that guy, bring this guy back, sign this free agent. You have at least 4, Schwarber, Castellanos, Harper, and Verlander. All 4 were basically done deals that they were going to be Cubs, right? Like pretty much every guy. Yeah. At least maybe from the fan base's perspective, we know the Verlander thing wasn't like super serious, but of those 4, who are the could-haves and who are the should-haves?
What I think if like what Cubs fans would definitely say should have number 1 is Kyle Schwarber.
Yes,
100%. I guess Verlander might be up there too. Like, oh, he should have been a Cub. They should have traded for him instead of Jose Quintana. Whatever. I think the one that people would point to most is definitely Kyle Schwarber as a should have been, just because of the way it went down, because they didn't even offer him a contract for 2021. Like it was there's so many different things that kind of went into play. And he had a really bad 2020, and I know he's kind of said out loud that like not getting that contract might have been the best thing for him, something like that, just because of the the kicking the ass that it gave him to kind of woke him up. So who knows really if he not going to Washington or Boston and out Philly, if he would have been at the Cubs instead, like would he have hit the most home runs in the National League over the last 2 years? Like I don't know, but it does feel just what he's done the last 2 seasons, where it's like if anyone. Yeah, if people are going to point to out of the players and the people involved in this series, they're going to point like this guy should still be a Cub. It's got to be Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, I mean, just for the sake of being different, I mean, Castellanos is someone that like still it honestly angers me a little bit more than Schwarber sometimes, just because like he was so great with the Reds, and they barely paid him anything. And then, I know this year in year one with the Phillies, the contract has been the first half wasn't great. I think he was a little bit better in the second half. Overall numbers are, average and probably hasn't lived up to what he's worth or what he's making for sure. But I mean, here he is. He's playing right field too. Like everyone said, the defense, and it's the same thing about Schwarber. Everyone says he can't play the defense. He's a DH only. They're both playing left and right field. I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense, but they're doing it. I think that's the craziest thing about this Phillies team, man, is like all year, everyone's like, oh, the defense is going to kill them eventually. And, the pitching's just been good enough for them to not be put in a position where the defense has really mattered, I guess, in a way. But, yeah, I mean, Castellanos is someone that's like, that 2019 second half, I mean, he played here for 2 months and people love that guy. And that, I mean, and I say that for those reasons, and also after 18, I was all about maybe the Cubs shaking the roster up, right? If they would have traded Schwarber then I probably wouldn't be so hurt by what's been happening with his career since he was non-tendered, right? If they would have traded him after 18 or even 19, they would have traded him after 19. They would have got the highest value. Like he was great in 2019 for the Cubs. They would have traded him after then. Got some prospects back or some sort of value back, then you could have maybe re-signed Castellanos, right? Or or if they trade him after 18, maybe they sign Harper. I don't know. I don't know. So it's weird. But yeah, I mean, Schwarber makes the most sense. I mean, it just sucks that I'm happy that the guy's doing well. 46 homers this year.
But it hurts.
It hurts though. It hurts because they just let him walk, man. They just let him walk. And you can sit here and you can tell me he had 200 strikeouts this year and he hit 210. I don't give a shit, man. I don't give a shit. There's something. He's the perfect example of like a glue guy. He has that mentality and like that locker room or clubhouse presence that like every postseason team needs. Like it can't be some out of the coincidence. It can't be a coincidence that every team he has been on since he left the Cubs has gone to the postseason and has shockingly had postseason success. Like the Red Sox, they shouldn't have even made the playoffs last year. Like going into that season, everyone thought that team was going to be out of the playoffs going that year. They fuck around, find a way to just be good. They trade for Schwarber at the deadline. Next thing you know, they're in the ALCS. Now he signs a contract with the Phillies, and here they are in the World Series. Like there's no coincidence behind it. Like he's just someone that is great for a team that is ready to win or something like that. I can't explain it. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what baseball is. It just doesn't make sense for a lot of things. And all that together just is what makes me so mad about it.
He's a winner. He's a winner. Obvious shirts. Joe had a great tweet saying we should be Cubs right now. Schwarber hugging.
Yeah.
And really the thing about Harper is like, I saw Jack saying in the chat, and hello to everybody that's joined us in the chat today. Jack saying, was he really that close? No, I don't think Harper was ever that close, but the fan base, everybody just believed it was happening. The guy named his dog Wrigley, and that threw us all into a frenzy, right? And because of Chris Bryant.
And he's friends with Bryant. Yeah.
It's happening. And he raved about how great Chicago is. And he'd go around the city of Chicago with Chris Bryant posting pictures of all the great places they were, and you'd be like, all right, this might actually happen.
Didn't he do an interview too on some podcast that said, and he basically said that, Chicago was like, he really thought Chicago was a destination. I swear he was on he did some interview.
I just don't think the Cubs ever really dug into it, right? Like that was the beginning of like, oh, they're not going to spend, they're going the opposite direction, right?
Yeah.
Bryce Harper's not happening.
That was the Daniel Descalso offseason, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
yes. But it was like one of those where it's like basically Theo had that like the whole spiel about fixing things, doing like offense broke, all that kind of stuff, and then I think that also played into people believing they were going out and giving Bryce Harper, because if you want to fix an offense quickly, not cheaply but quickly, you go out and sign Bryce Harper, right? So I think that played into it, why people thought Bryce Harper was for sure happening. Was it 4 years ago now? Like, I don't know. I don't remember if I ever truly believed that was happening, but it was like just from the way they talked about it, like you thought they were going to spend a lot of money, and then they went and got Daniel Descalso. So it's like that is it's
just to add to that, Ryan, it was Chris Bryant that said Bryce Harper told him it was that Chicago was at the top of his list for preferred destinations.
There you
go.
So,
man, see, that hurts. Like it wasn't close. Wasn't close, probably not. But for multiple years leading up to it, everybody thought it was, including Bryce Harper, who was the guy who makes the ultimate decision. So, it's just a tough one to swallow. We've talked a lot this offseason and during the season about different guys. We talked about the Soto deal and Shohei and all this stuff. Bryce Harper is one of those guys. He's in his prime, and he's showing you what he can do now. Like this offseason has been unbelievable for him. And you said like the unexpected. We're talking about winners. Cody, I saw the stat that you retweeted, like the Phillies 19 less wins than the Astros this season. Mm-hmm. The biggest discrepancy in the World Series since 1906, Cubs Sox. Like, I don't even know how they got here. Honestly, I can't believe it. I thought we basically eliminated them from the postseason, and the next thing you know, they're in the World Series, and it just pounds back the fact that the best teams don't always get there. The Astros are probably the best team, and they're there, but they're playing a team that's only has to get 4 wins, and anything can happen in those 4 games. And why can't that be the Cubs in the next couple of years? Make some moves.
Right. No, I agree. And this whole thing with Harper, I just remember whenever he got that contract from the Phillies, and like Bryce Harper over the course of his career has been one of the more controversial players in baseball. Like people either loved him or love him or hate him. And like when he got that contract from the Phillies, everyone thought he got paid way too much money. And now what is the internet saying today? That Bryce Harper is on one of the best free agent contracts ever. Like it's absolutely hilarious because I've been a Bryce Harper guy for a long time, not just because I thought he was, or I was hoping he was going to be at the Cubs one day, but just because like he's clearly one of the best players in the league. Came up at 19 years old, man. Like that's someone that you definitely like appreciate. And the only way I would have hated him really is if he played for the Cardinals, and that's it. But he didn't, so I can like him. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was say Bryce Harper always gave me like the way people look at him is the way people like to look at LeBron. I'm not saying he's like he's reached LeBron James status of like a player in their sport, or he ever will, but just like both were like arguably the most hyped prospects to ever like exist. Like being on a cover of Sports Illustrated at 16 kind of thing.
I saw a tweet yesterday. I think it was a cover of Sports Illustrated from like when he got on the cover of Sports Illustrated, like I guess before, I don't know. I just remember like the guy who tweeted it said like so many years and so many days ago, Bryce Harper was on this cover and now he's going to the World Series. And it was just kind of one of those full circle things.
Well, that's what it was. That's what I'm saying is like, because he was like 16 at that point. LeBron again was crazy hype prospect, and they come in and they're not. I think one of the things, not that people wanted to see Bryce Harper fail, but like when he wasn't winning MVPs like right off the bat, and he, his teams weren't going to the play, like that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is like, I think it was, when you look at it with LeBron, it's like they weren't, not that they weren't living up to the hype, but it didn't do anything.
They didn't win. They didn't win the big game.
All that hype didn't do anything right. Like LeBron took like to his like 4th or 5th year or 3rd year to get to the finals, but even it was like 6 or 7 or 8 years before he finally won a ring. Bryce Harper has been in the league since, was it 2011? And he's finally just going to the World Series now. So it's one of those things where, again, I'm not saying anyone's at LeBron James level, but it's just like these guys that were so hyped for so long at so young, are only now making it to the pinnacle of the sport. Like that's I don't know why Bryce Harper gives me that kind of vibe, but like it took him a while, but he's lived up to it. Like he has lived up to the hype.
And that's to another point, to the point of what we're just saying, like Harper's contract looking like the best free agent contract. Well, that's just because contracts have only skyrocketed in value or in price since then. Like him and Manny Machado's contract, those teams have to feel great having those, especially with like what Juan Soto is going to eventually get and what Aaron Judge is going to get, Shohei is going to get. And that's like you can add that to more like just frustration and why the Cubs weren't willing to do that. And we can sit here and complain about Tom all you want, or if it was the front office, whatever. Like there's so many reasons why Bryce Harper isn't a Cub, and it's not just because of Tom, in my opinion. I think there is some blame with the front office there. And like Jed has said, like they believed in some of those guys a little bit too long, and whether that's him or them and Tom's fault altogether, fine, but like it's not just one person. So it just sucks. It sucks. So because of this, I have begun thinking I'm going to root for the Astros because I just can't. I can't do it.
Sean has a good question. Do you think Harper would be a Cub if they never signed Hayward? I do think that is a possibility.
Definitely more likely. That's for sure.
Yeah, certainly more likely. I also think it's interesting the different paths of getting to the World Series, right? Like we're thinking about the Cubs rebuilding the way they did it. The Astros have pretty much done it with their own guys. And on the other side, the Phillies have thrown a ton of money at it. They threw it at Harper. They threw it at Schwarber. It wasn't a huge deal, but big enough that the Cubs wouldn't do it. They threw it at Castellanos, but they at the same time they've done more free agency than the Astros have, who have been consistently good. At the same time, they've done it with hitting instead of pitching, which is the current route. Like when the Cubs won the World Series, they doubled down on all the hitters because there was so much great hitting. They're like, we're going the opposite way. Now you look at the Phillies getting there, and it's like, they do have some solid pitching. Don't get me wrong. They have good pitchers, but we all know that it was about hitting that got them to the World Series, right? And it certainly wasn't defensive baseball. I think as fans, we kind of get stuck on whatever the trend is. That's the only way a team can build at that point. And I just think it shows over and over, because baseball is such a funky sport, because a 7-game series or a 5-game series is such a roll of the dice, that you can get to the World Series a lot of different ways. It's not easy, and you might not be the best team and get to the World Series, but don't be afraid to try something different than what other teams are doing. So I'm not saying what the Cubs are doing is wrong. I'm just saying there is no set way to be like, this is how you get there. It is true, though, if you develop your own players, that's never a bad thing.
I will say this.
It always allows you to go, you can still go spend the cash.
I will say this, and this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm probably going to be rooting for the Astros. Like the route that the Phillies took, like they'd be getting brutally murdered by the Philadelphia media even if they just didn't, if they didn't win that series with the Cardinals, even though they were underdogs. I feel like they would have been getting brutally murdered by the Philly media, because they're like the second highest payroll in baseball, and their farm system sucks. Like the way that they did it, like, they got hot and they're here and they could do it. They could make me look like a real asshole right now. Like that's fine. But like in the long term, like, do I think that they could consistently be someone like the Astros, who are in the playoffs every year, going to 6 straight ALCS? No, I don't. So like, this is their chance, and we're going to see how it works out. And, like, credit to their owner for, trying to put a winning product out there, right? Like, I'll give them credit there, but the way that they've built this team, it's not like, if I was a Phillies fan, I would be living and dying on this World Series. And then, we'll see what happens after this year, because like I feel like even we as Cubs fans, like, it gives me very like late 2000s vibes where the Cubs just spent money on guys, but they couldn't develop their own players. And, guys got older and things didn't work out. Harper and all those guys, they're still like late 20s going, like haven't hit like that peak yet. So like, sure, they could have more winning seasons after this, but I think I get this is like their one chance. And if it doesn't work out, then I don't know if they ever get back.
Let's talk more about this in a second, because I want to get to Cody's tweet from the weekend that caught me by surprise. And we still are going to grade today Christopher Morel and Wade Miley. But I do want to hear about Shady Rays, because I assume Ryan, when he was driving to Missouri, could have used a good pair of Shady Rays, reflection off the cars and whatnot.
Yeah, no, it was sunny, and you're going through Illinois all the way down there, so it's only cornfields. It's like no trees, no shade from the sun. So yeah, a pair of Shady Rays glasses would have hit different on that drive, because it would have been awesome. But talking about Shady Rays, and I know we're getting some of ours soon, and I'm really excited for that. But Shady Rays never understood why sunglasses were so expensive, so they set out to change it. You don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this fall, because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles catered to everyone and every lifestyle. The best part about Shady Rays, they have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear, lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your shades on day one, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Drop in the lake, off a cliff, anything. Maybe you're at Mizzou's homecoming and you had a couple too many drinks, and your sunglasses fall off, your Shady Rays sunglasses fall off your head, break, they'll replace them, no questions asked. Even with that strong of a protection program, they still manage to make quality that I can tell you holding in my hand seems just as good as any expensive pair that I have ever worn. Shady Rays customers seem to agree with over 200,000 five-star reviews. Shady Rays also provides 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order placed, and have donated over 20 million meals to date. They stand behind their product and told our team that if anyone has a problem, they throw profit out the window and do what it takes to get it right. It's free returns and exchanges. You either love the shades or Shady Rays will pay to ship them back. That's it. And now exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. Buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs for as low as $54. Redeem only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades.
Yeah, I see what Sean's saying too. He's saying you're going to need shades in the bleachers for those Mash Mervis homers. That's an excellent point. Excellent point by Sean. Hey, our next partner of the product I use literally every day, started taking AG1 because I didn't have time, wanted better gut health, more energy, and optimized immune system. Now I've been on it since April. I love it. It doesn't taste super healthy, but it is, and it tastes sort of mild and tropical. Here's what it is. 1 scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to start your day right, with a special blend of ingredients supporting your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, aging, all those things. I get a boost of energy, so I take it first thing in the morning, and it is lifestyle friendly too. Whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, gluten-free, or dairy-free, you're all good with AG1. You're investing in all-in-one nutritional insurance for less than $3 a day, recommended by professional athletes, 7,000 5-star reviews. Right now, reclaim your health, arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. It's so simple. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/CHGO Cubs. Again, athleticgreens.com/CHGO Cubs to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, Cody. So I saw the tweet. Was it this morning or was it last night? You saying
yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah. You are prepared for Kyle Schwarber to be remembered more as a Philly than as a Cub, and you hate it. Do you really think if they win the World Series, Schwarbs will be remembered as a Philly instead of a Cub?
Well, so when I tweeted, when I tweeted that, it was literally like right after the game. So maybe I'm a little quick quick to it, a little overreactionary there.
The hurt was fresh. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is the way I was thinking of it. And a lot of people were in my mentions disagreeing with me. And so if you go back to that tweet, there's a thread where I kind of explain like the thought process. And the way I think of it is like, you know, he just hit 46 homers this year, and in this first year there, they're going to the World Series. It's not like the Phillies go to the World Series every single year anyway. It's a great sports city. Like, as much as I hate their fans, like, it is a great sports city. And so theoretically, I'm thinking, you know, if he does what he did this year for another 4 or 5 year stretch while he's in the prime of his career, which I think he is, like, he's definitely playing better with the Phillies than he did with the Cubs. You know, I think by the end of his career, people might think of him as a Philly before they think of him as a Cub, because he was a role player with the Cubs. Like, I know he had the big legendary comeback in 2016. Like, I get it. Like, I have clearly not forgot that. And obviously the Schwarbomb in 2015 against the Cardinals. Like, obviously those are like Cubs fans are never going to forget that. I'm talking about the average Joe on the street. If you ask the average Joe, like Kyle Schwarber, like what team is he going to think of? Well, I think, you know, perhaps one day, not right now, but maybe one day, yeah, I could see people saying, you know, Kyle Schwarber, Phillies legend. Like, it's I hate it. Like, I don't want that. That's one of the reasons why I want to root for the Astros now. But like, you know, like a lot of people were like yelling at me saying that like this was an awful take, and it's like they just assumed that I thought that people were going to forget he ever played with the Cubs. It's like, no, like Cubs fans aren't going to forget that. But like, you think the average Joe, and we're talking about we're talking about a sport that's so regional, like people who like the Cubs. Okay, maybe the Cubs aren't a great example because I do think we're very nationwide because of WGN. But like, you know, people who like the Mariners, for example, like you think of maybe one or two players on that team, but like Mariners fans know like every player on that team, right? Like, I don't know. To me, it like, because baseball is so regional when it comes to like fans, like, I don't know. I just feel like it'd be very easy for the random guy on the street to think that he was a Philly before a Cub. And like, I don't think you could have said that last year. And he's put together arguably his best year of his career. I know he had a higher OPS last year, had 200 strikeouts this year. I get it. But he's still big part of why they're in the World Series. And like, he's had major moments this postseason. Like, that's like that helps cement it as well, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like that by the end of his career, it could be. I don't think it's there yet. Obviously, they got to win the World Series first, and then we'll see. But
the chat's kind of with you, Cody. Like, I see Joel and Jack. I disagree with this, with what they're saying on the chat, though. Like, he didn't have that many great moments, and it was just 15 and 16, the Schwarber. Yeah, but like, those are two of the craziest, most historical baseball postseasons ever, right? It was the winningest, the biggest World Series Game 7 finish ever. He walked onto that field in Cleveland, and I'm telling you, it was like, I've never seen that many media people standing with their phones at anything in my life, as we stood there for an hour and a half waiting for Kyle Schwarber to come out of the dugout to be like, yep, I'm going to play. And it was like, honestly, it was like Babe Ruth walked out. There was nothing like it. Oh, yeah, and then for him to play well, and the Schwarber in 15, because it was unexpected. Don't forget the history of when he did it. It's like buying a house. Location, location, location. Timing. I'm not saying he won't be big in Philly, because he will. Let's not forget, they've got a statue of Rocky. He's not even a real figure, and they got him, and people celebrate a statue of a movie figure that is a made up character. So if they win the World Series, I wouldn't be surprised if you got a Schwarber and, you know, a Bryce Harper and Schwarber statue neck and neck on the other side of Rocky holding his arms out. Like, that might happen, but don't forget what he did in a Cubs uniform, because it's when he did it that really was so crucial. Do you guys want to quickly do a recap of we should have the results now for our who you got up to the World Series. And
I mean, I don't have total points, but I know I don't have a lot, though. That's for sure. My team really
we didn't have a scoring thing, but again, we picked 4 players one had to be a Cub, and one player had to be a pitcher, right? And we went from everybody available, and we said, well, we'll repick it for the World Series. We'll do that later this week. And we'll let Steven decide who won. I think there's some arguments to be made. Nobody had a dynamite team. Like, we left some really good players off, right? Like, Cody, you had Judge, and you had Schwarbs. That's good.
Jacob deGrom had one good start. he was the one guy who got the Mets a win.
That's right. But I also had, similar to that, I had Bieber, who went 13 1/3 with 3 earned runs. Verlander. Altuve hasn't been very good. So I can look at that. Here's I'm going to state my case. I wrote down some notes. I'm going to state my case for my team. And my team was Freddie Freeman, Juan Soto, Bieber, and Castellanos. Okay. Soto, 2 home runs in the NLCS. Took him a while to get going, but he came through. 7 RBI total and 11 hits in 12 games. Bieber, 13 1/3, 3 earned runs, and he got a win. Castellanos has 9 hits and 6 RBI. And then Freeman, his was so short because the Dodgers were done. And that's more points, but he still had 5 hits in only 4 games, including a home run, 3 doubles, and 3 RBI. So each of my guys came through with at least something. Whereas, I look at Joey, and Joey had DJ LeMahieu. Well, that didn't exist. Max Scherzer wasn't great. Do you guys have arguments for your team? I don't think it's a runaway for anybody.
Well, Schwarber, you've been talking about him a lot. Sorry, Ryan. Schwarber, obviously, he's had big moments, so I feel like he's like my runaway leader right now. Aaron Judge had an awful postseason. It's not going to change how much money he's going to get paid, but he had an awful postseason. All I can think of is the one game he had a homer against the Guardians. His postseason summed up is the final out the Yankees made last night, which was him hitting a comebacker back to the pitcher. DeGrom had one good start, and it was the one game the Mets won. So whatever, and I don't have Vlad Jr.'s numbers around. I hope he did something in that game too, where they blew an 8-0 lead. But I mean, I don't got a lot here. Thanks, because Sean. Most of my guys didn't even make it around. You know what I mean?
All right.
Sean says it's Ryan, but for the sake of trolling him, it's Luke.
No, I'm gonna make my case. I mean, Rizzo. I will also say, for guys that had good series but didn't make it further, I think that's what we said earlier. The length that your team makes it also is a factor. Yeah. All 4 of my guys ended up playing in the championship series. Machado had a great year. He ended up with 4 home runs, or great postseason. He hit 271. He had a 910 OPS, 4 home runs, 7 RBI. He had a really good run. A couple clunkers there, but who doesn't have a clunker or 2 in a long postseason like that? Rizzo ended up hitting 276. He had a 984 OPS, 2 homers, 8 RBIs. He also had a great run, I would say. He had that home run. I think it was game 1 against Houston. Had that big home run that almost won me a bet, but it did not. Because it was it was like a 4-2 game, and then he hit a home run in the bottom of the 8th for the Yankees, or something like that, top of the 8th maybe. Verlander had that really bad game his first time out, but then he went 6 innings, 1 run his second start. So a great bounce back for him. And honestly, I might as well have just picked DJ LeMahieu, because Jose Altuve had, I think, 1 hit the whole time. So
I think he has no RBI.
Well, he ended
still
up
doesn't have an RBI this postseason. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think he was 0 for 23 to start the postseason before he finally got a hit.
Got to pull some juice out of your steam engine right there a little bit.
It does, but I think out of the hitters, and like Cody, I don't have Vlad's numbers ahead of me or in front of me. That's his job, not mine. But I have
really making a case.
Yeah, I think for the hitters, Rizzo and Machado are right up there at the top. Two big top ones, maybe 3 or 4 best offensive performances in the postseason. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying. Yeah, and I don't know about Joey.
As a neutral fifth party here, I'm leaning towards Ryan, but the jury's not. They haven't come to their verdict yet here.
I'm just saying I have a very consistent team. You have a very you have a real bad start with Verlander, and you have an awful postseason for Altuve. Freeman's was short, but he wasn't bad. Soto was big in the NLCS. Bieber had 2 great starts, and Castellanos is still playing, and he has 9 hits and 6 RBI. I have the most consistent team. Ryan has the most flashy, I think. You were like hit or miss, right? So it's got to be one of the 2 teams for sure. I honestly, I don't care which way we go with it. I would say those are the 2 teams.
It's a 2-team race. Joey is very far in last place, in my opinion.
DJ LeMahieu didn't even play.
Cody, if Schwarber hits like a couple game-winning home runs, I'd have no problem giving it to you. But now it's Ryan and Luke/Steve is very close behind, and it's all going to come down to this World Series.
This is only pre-World Series performances. I think we're gonna. Should we do another? Who you got draft?
Yeah, no, I think we do. We just pick players that are in the World Series now. Maybe we do that like Wednesday or Thursday, right? Do a fast draft, same thing, 4 players, so everybody's going to have somebody that's bad on their team.
Okay, I'm down. All right. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Hey, let me do.
I think I take it.
Let's do all of the drafting or all of the grading here in the final segment. First, I want to tell you about Pins and Aces, the official golf apparel partner of CHGO. We love our Pins and Aces gear and get tons of compliments on and off the course. A family-owned golf and apparel business. They make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, even our favorite beer sleeve, an innovative product that allows you to store not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, 7 beers or pops or high noons right inside your golf bag. And you keep them stashed right by you the entire round. Check out pinsandaces.com. Use the code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. And by the way, don't forget the CHGO tailgates we've got coming up. There have been 3 announced, and you can get tickets now. It's the Packers game, it's the Dolphins game coming up, and it's the Lions game. Michigan Avenue and Roosevelt, and a big old party, $46, all you can eat and drink. Like, it doesn't get better than that. And we're all planning on being there. Hopefully the weather's somewhat like this, but I'm pretty excited. Again, make sure you go to chgo.com and then get your tickets for that. What'd you say, Cody?
I said dress warm.
Yeah, we might have to dress warm.
Dress warm. Okay. Well, you're talking about the tailgate a little bit, Stucky. Well, DraftKings, they're my new favorite app. And when you come to the tailgate, you talk to me about all the bets you're going to be placing for the Bears game that day. You can also talk to me about what bets you'll be placing for the Bulls game, because the basketball is back. The NBA is back. NBA fans, the wait is over. Basketball is back, so tip off the season with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA moneyline bet and get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you use the code CHGO. Check this out. In addition to the usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings up to 100% with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and place a stepped-up same-game parlay today with payouts bigger than ever. DraftKings Sportsbook is where I go to bet on the NBA. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code CHGO. Yeah, thank you, Luke. Make any $5 bet this week and get $200 in free bets. If your team wins, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Use promo code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. That said, I'm probably going to bet on the Bulls tonight, so whatever. I hate it. I'm gonna do it.
For sure.
They were an embarrassment on Saturday. Home opener, and you get blown out by the Cavs. I don't care if that team's better. Celtics come to town tonight. They're 6-point dogs. I'm riding them. I ride one more time. One more time.
All right, so we have 18, 19 minutes to do our grades because we have a hard out here because we got the Blackhawks guys coming up. We have Morel and Miley to grade. You want to start with Morel?
Yeah, and I'll try and go quickly.
Take your time.
Okay.
We'll get it in. I'll keep us honest.
All right, so offense, I go B-, defense B, and overall B. I feel like Michael Collada would be okay with this because part of me kind of wants to go A on one of these things, just for the sole fact that no one expected any of this from him this year. No one even knew who he was barely really coming into the year. So, when you consider how I've graded guys over the last 2 weeks, I've taken in the expectation factor, and, it's played a part. But I went B- on offense because, he came out like hot, 24 straight games getting on base, all that. He clearly has power. He clearly can hit to all fields. He showed that a bit. But by the end of the year, the league definitely caught on a lot better to him. The strikeouts came. The strikeout rate does scare me a little bit. But I'm hopeful. I think that, he's a nice, he could be a really nice utility player on this for a good team. So I'm excited about his future with the Cubs. Defense, the versatility is what really makes it a B. I think his defense in the outfield and center field specifically can get better, but it wasn't the worst I've ever seen. I don't have the defensive metrics in my head. I'm going based off the eye test, Dell metrics as they call it. But I love the fact that he can play all over the diamond, man. Center field, he can play short, second. If he can learn how to throw the ball better from third to first base, I'd love to see him a little bit more at third. But I do love his defense up the middle, and center field is okay. But I just don't think we're going to see him a lot in center field next year with Brennan Davis coming up probably. So as a utility guy up the middle or third base, I don't mind it. So I went with an overall B+ just because or an overall B just because I think that he can be better. I don't think this is the peak, and he was just very solid. He had a lot of ups and downs like every rookie does, but yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right, Ryan, what did you give him? I think Cody's is fair.
Yeah, I think I had his offense and defense flipped. I believe offense I had B. Actually, I think me and Frank have the exact same grade for Morel. Let's see, Steven. There you go. B for offense, B- on defense, and then overall with the B. The offense, Cody kind of said it all, but the big thing was that no one expected it. And then, the first at bat of his career, he hits a home run like on the wave. Like it was no one. First of all, no one expected him to be up this year. Like he wasn't on the radar. And then all of a sudden he's here and he's like lighting the world on fire. He started off really, really good. But he went like any other rookie does, went through his struggles, and some of them were very, deep struggles. He had it was like a 40% strikeout rate in August, I want to say something like that. Whereas like in May was at like 22%, and then it ballooned a lot. So he ended up striking out a lot. And I know that I've heard that was one thing that was a little concerning about him in the minor leagues, was just striking out. But he was 22.6% K rate in May, and that jumped up to 34% in June. Went back down to 26 in July, then had 40 in August and 36 in September, October. Like it was, you saw the things that he struggled with when the league caught up to him, or kind of figured out what best way to attack him. So I will say that he needed to do better at, maybe adjusting back. And there were points where he did. I know the end of the season, the last homestand or last few games of the season, he had like every single one of his hit, and he had a good amount of hits, was either a double or a home run. Like he had like over 1,000 OPS or at some point in the last few weeks of the year. And in those select group of games, which is a small sample size. And of course we know small sample sizes aren't, you take them for what they are, but you don't put too much value in them. I think like Cody said, this isn't the peak. I think he could be a better player. But the fact that you have a 23-year-old guy who has pop in the bat, who can capably play, and this will tie into my defense. I gave him a B- on defense, where he played well at certain areas. Like third base wasn't very good. Center field, looking at the metrics don't love him as much as like maybe it seemed like on the eye test. And I know, just getting used to playing in the outfield after being an infielder so long is one thing. But he pretty much proved he could play capable defense at least two positions, if not three. A good defense. I'll give him good defense at 2 or 3 positions, and capable, use him in a pinch when you need someone to play that position, probably in another 2 or 3. Like I think you have that, and his arm is obviously really good. His arm strength is good. So there's different things out there. But I think the best indication of why I feel like he's going to get better is because he is a guy. Again, he's 23 years old. He does all those things, but he's also just a guy who just, you could tell, loves just having the opportunity and loves just being there. Like, he works his butt off because that's what he had to do years ago. I wrote the story a few months back when he first came on the scene that, when he was like, I forgot how old he was specifically, but, out in the Dominican, getting a ride home on the bus from one of the camps or one of the Cubs places back home. And he was just stopped at a cafe to get something to eat, saw the bus was leaving, tried to run out the door jammed, it shattered on him. And he a tendon ripped. I think there was nerve damage in his arm. Like, he had all these different things going against him, and he worked his butt off to get back. And I want to say he came back even earlier than he was supposed to, maybe even like a year, not like completely back, but he was like doing things way earlier than like doctors were telling him he was going to do it. So it was like, when you see a guy with that kind of work ethic to get back from a very like traumatizing injury, a big time injury, to now being only 23 years old and playing basically the entire season in the major leagues. And I get the feeling that this isn't done. Like, he's not done improving. He will get better. And at the very least, if he's a guy that can be on your team for years and is just a utility player, but starts a lot of games because he fills in all over the field, like, that's better than having three guys who can only play one or two positions on your bench. Like, you got one guy that can do that in multiple spots, and that saves you a lot of roster flexibility, a lot of money. But I overall, I think, again, I give him a B. I think he can be better. I think he wants to be better. I think he can, he will be better. But this was like a good baseline season to see like, what can this kid do at the major league level?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. There's so much upside in what he provides, even if it's just like super utility guy. And Sean was saying that in the chat, worrying about like where he might fit in. I saw Collada on the chat finally chiming in and saying C+ offense, B defense, a lot of nobody on 2-out hits. I'm not going to blame him for guys not being on base. I look at his numbers. And by the way, I did expect Collada to chime in with Ricketts says straight A's, he was cheap. That's the tweet I was expecting, Michael. Now,
I was expecting him. I was expecting like actually worse from Collada, because like we've been very opposite about all of them. And like, this is pretty fair from all of us. And he's pretty much the same. So, I mean, this is a big day for this podcast history, I think.
All right. So here's what I went with. I went with a similar report card to Nico, to Contreras, to Hap. All those guys, I believe I ended up with a B+. And Morel wasn't as productive as those three guys, but he had zero expectations. He cost you nothing. He burst out of the scene out of nowhere. And like we've been saying, you guys said, he played so many positions. So for a young guy playing the most baseball he's ever played, he had 47 RBI and 16 homers. 16 homers, fourth on the team. 47 RBI, fifth on the team. That's for a guy that we didn't really even know his name going into the season. So that's why I have to put him up that high. He played 113 games, the exact same amount that Wilson Contreras played. And I kind of went and I just eyeballed the numbers, whether it was home runs, RBIs, OPS, all those things. He's really close. He's slightly below what Wilson Contreras did offensively. And we've talked about how this was Wilson's best offensive year of his career and raved about how great he was offensively. Plus, this kid broke into the majors and played all these positions. I have to say, I feel good about the B+. Like, maybe that's optimistic because, like you said, he ended up at 235. He struck out a lot. Yeah, no expectations. Yes, Sean, I know he wears Michael Barrett's original number. And those are big shoes to fill. But, I think he gets a B+ for me. I thought about just going straight B, and then I was like, no, he overachieved. This guy came out of nowhere, and he went through the bumps of the league, and he went BB. So that's why I bumped the upgraded overall to a B+. I mean, if you would have told me Christopher Morel was going to hit 16 homers, 47 RBI, and play over 100 games for the Cubs this year while he was 22, 23, I don't know how you couldn't put him over a B. So that's how I did. Now, Wade Miley, that's a different story, Cody.
That's a tough one to grade. That's a tough one to grade.
This is really tough to grade. I mean, he only made 8 starts.
Yeah. Before we go to Miley, I do want to say that, in regards to what you guys said, I do think that Morel, one of the things that I think, and this is why the Cubs should absolutely be like competing next year, is like he just, I always love to talk about vibes, but like he brings an energy that no one else brings, and that's vibes, man. Like, and it's a lot of like what I said about Kyle Schwarber early in the show. Like, he's like a glue guy, and I feel like Morel could potentially be someone like that, where he just has this aura, this energy that brings a winning mentality to this team. That doesn't mean that I say that he has to play every single day. Doesn't mean that he has to play one position. It just means that he is a guy that is he could be, I don't want to call him a pillar of many pillars on this team, but he is someone. He is a guy. There is no reason this guy can't be a productive player on a winning team. So,
and don't forget, Cody, he led the league in fist bumps and hugs as well.
Oh yeah,
yes,
and tipping caps.
That's something right there. How many people get that? Even the umpires.
Yeah, he was the nicest guy to the umpires in the entire league, for sure.
So that's a bonus. Doing it with a smile. All right, Wade Miley, what do you got?
Wade Miley. Steven, you want to bring it up? All right, so this, I don't know. You know how Delmetrics works. It doesn't make sense. So I go results. D+, stuff and adjustments, C+, and then overall D+. Now, I understand that everyone probably sees a C+, and they're like, what the hell are you smoking, Cody? Well, the only reason that I put him at a C+ there was because the stuff was good, and like when he actually pitched. And, like he didn't have to. The only, if you want to down me because of adjustments, well, he just couldn't stay on the mound. Honestly, when he was out there, he was okay, and like that's why D+ for results. The only thing really that brings him down is the fact that he couldn't stay healthy, right? So that's why overall I go D+. Just it's a lot like Kyle Hendricks, except that when he did pitch, he was actually good. He was Stuckey's favorite player on the team because the game went by so fast.
I forgot about that in my grade.
Yeah, right. Like it's just one of those things. So like if I guess I could go incomplete. I don't know. Like when he pitched, he was good, but he just did not pitch at all. Like really, he made what? He didn't even make 10 starts this year, right, Ryan?
8 starts.
8 starts. He had 1 relief appearance.
This team would have, I'm not saying they would have won 10 more games if he had played the entire year, but they definitely would have been a lot more competitive in the first half of the season if he had been able to go out there and start every 5 days. The guy was really good with the Reds in that ballpark the year before. He's put together a solid career in general. Like, it's not like he was like the Cubs picked him off the street because he was bad. Like, he's shown over the course of his career that he can be a serviceable middle of the rotation guy. So again, I guess it's an incomplete, but like also like I don't know where the Cubs stand on or where I stand on where the Cubs bring it back. I mean, he'd be a nice depth piece. They're definitely not gonna have to pay him $10 million like they did this year. Definitely a big like bounce back year for him next year in terms of just being able to stay on the field. But like he's just when he is on the field, he's very solid. But the injury, the fact that he couldn't pitch is like that's the big reason why I go D+ overall.
All right, Ryan, we got less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's go for it. All right, Steven. Yeah, so I had results D, stuff, adjustments D-, overall D+. So me and Cody ended up same overall, a little different on the other stuff. The results are a D because, like Cody said, they were fine when he was out there. Like he had some really good starts, a couple bad ones, but not enough to really out. I mean, he ended up with a 3.16 ERA, which is fine for a guy that you're not, he's not one of your probably maybe at best a 3 starter if he's fully healthy the whole year. So a 3.16 ERA is fine in that sense. But again, it all comes down to he just couldn't stay healthy. He made 9 total. He pitched in 9 different games all year, 8 starts, and even like there was a couple times where he came back for a start or 2 and then went right back in the IL. Like I mean, someone said it in the chat. I think it was Sean that the move made sense. It just didn't work out. It was one of those. I mean, they picked him off the waivers for $10 million. It was a 1-year deal, so it wasn't like he was gonna have, it wasn't like he was gonna be part of a long-term future kind of thing. And it just didn't work out. And I always liked talking to Wade. I know everyone in the clubhouse liked him, and Jed talked about him on, a couple weeks ago during the end of season press conference, talking about how a lot of guys in his position, especially a guy that's just coming to a team for the first time, like no real ties on the organization, they have just gone down to Arizona the whole season and rehab there to just completely focus on all that. Wade never did. Wade stayed in Chicago and rehabbed with the guys here, made sure he was around the locker room. He's giving, guys bottles of liquor for different achievements that they have, or he's doing all this kind of stuff. And for a bunch of young guys, a bunch of guys making their first real trek in Major League Baseball, to have a guy who's respected as a veteran around and doing all these things to build a club, to help build the culture in a clubhouse that he may not ever step foot in again. Like that's a big piece of it. And so I think that really that gave him a boost in my opinion. And then I guess I didn't talk about the stuff and adjustments, but like Cody said, it was, again, when he was out there, they looked fine. I mean, he throws 6 pitches. His tempo was awesome. So if you're looking for a guy who doesn't need to adjust to the pitch clock next season, Wade Miley may not be a bad person to bring around, because from day one he'll have it. But D+ overall for me. It just, again, as far as incompletes go, like if there's one guy on the team that probably could use an incomplete, it's him, just because he didn't pitch for most of the season. But I guess D+ is where he falls for me. It just, again, it was fine when he was out there. He just wasn't out there enough. That's
fair enough. I agree with a lot of the stuff you guys are saying. And Emily said we should have factored in his amazing no-look catch while he's been interviewed on live TV. I didn't factor that in. I didn't factor in the bronze shoes that he gave Yan Gomes, all that stuff. I should have factored in that he's a fast pitcher, that he's gonna crank the game.
Your favorite guy.
That's one of my favorite things. So while the move was a bust, I would be willing to bring him back, because I'm giving him incomplete overall, straight D's. Just didn't see him enough. I mean, 8 starts, 9 appearances, incomplete. Would I bring him back for half of that? Yes. Would I bring him back for 10 mil? Absolutely not. So that's my deal with him. I'm just a straight D down. It's sort of like the Hendricks report card. Good teammates. They just weren't on the mound enough, and they're veteran guys. He's gonna be 36 next year, something like that.
So, something like that.
Yeah, he's an older guy, so I think you should be able to get him at a reasonable price to keep him around for the same reason. Only expect less out of him next year, going into the season, and hope you get more as opposed to what happened this season. So,
well, that's one of the things too. It's like where he kind of came in, and I guess even one of the expectations was he'll be your number 3. He'll be your number 3, right? You bring him back next year. That's certainly not the expectation. He had that one relief appearance at the end of the year. Maybe that's a spot where you got a good lefty reliever who can cover a few innings. I mean, because you have if you go into the season with a bullpen of Adbert and Keegan, those are your long relief guys, but they're both righties. Wade Miley, maybe he brings a lefty who can go multiple innings in that sense, cover 5 or 6 batters when there's a really lefty heavy, right? They got like lefty, righty, lefty, something like that.
Either way, they need the depth.
Yeah,
they do for sure.
And he's a guy who, when he's healthy, when he can go out there and pitch, like he's always been a guy that can go out there and give you a lot of innings. Like he'll have his ones where he doesn't make a long start, but those were, doing research on it earlier in the season, like those were a lot few. I don't know what I'm trying to say. That didn't happen that often. Like he was a guy that could go out there and generally count on him to give you 5, 6 innings. And so to have that kind of guy in like your bullpen, and then you're going to need more starters as the season wears on, so he can fill in for a brief period of time like that, may not be the worst thing for the Cubs to look into.
All right, more report cards coming on Tuesday for you. We'll be back at 1:20 on Tuesday in studio. Thanks to everybody that joined us for the chat in this one, and thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by America's
we lost him.
Sportsbook. Until Tuesday.
Oh, there he is.
Fly the W.
Try it again, Luke.